Hello everyone. Today I will be showing you how to develop a Django application and showcase the flow of traffic of the Django application across the web server, app server and a database server. So for this we need to install a few prerequisites, which is the Apache web server, Django and MySQL web server, MySQL database server. So let's start off with the installation of the Apache web server. So first, let us type in this command sudo apt get update. Okay, so this is going to get all the updates that are required for your Linux. Okay, so after you're done with the sudo apt get update, now type in this command to install Apache. It's sudo apt get install Apache 2. Alright, so then click on yes. So now as you can see, the installation is finished. So now our Apache web server is ready. Next we shall install the MySQL server. So for this, let me clear the screen. Okay, so for this we do sudo apt install MySQL hyphen server. Okay, so now the MySQL server installation is also completed. Now let us look at the UFW, which is the unconditional firewall. Using this, we can mention the ports through which our clients can access our web server, and we can block or add a few ports or IP addresses and do some basic firewall functions. So to enable this UFW, we need to type in this command sudo UFW enable. Okay, so it says the firewall is active and enabled on system startup. So now to check if your UFW is actually enabled or not, to check the status, you can always type sudo UFW status. So it says status is active. So now I don't want it currently, so I'm just going to disable this command sudo UFW disable. Right, so now the firewall stop. So now we'll use the pip3 and install a virtual environment so that we can work in this virtual environment. So first let me create a directory. So first mkdir Django apps. Okay, now let's move into the Django apps, and here let us install the virtual environment. So pip3 install virtual env. Okay, so it says the pip3 is not found. So first let us install pip3. So then here install. Now we've finished installation of Python 3 pip. So now let us install virtual env. So if we type in the command pip3 install virtual env, then wait for the download to finish. Okay, so now we have installed the virtual environment also. So now let us create a new virtual environment named env. So type in virtual env space env. Env is the name of the virtual environment. And now we've created a new virtual environment here. So now let us activate this virtual environment as source. Type in source env/bin/activate. So you can see this env written next to my name of the user, so that indicates that we're currently in the virtual environment. Alright, so now we can deactivate it anytime by using just deactivate activate. So now the env is gone, that means it's deactivated. Let us go back into the virtual environment. Alright, so now here we need to install Django and Django admin tools. We can use the Python pip3 installer again to install Django admin tools. So let's do this. Sudo pip3 install Django space Django hyphen admin tools. Okay, so now we've successfully installed Django and Django admin tools too. Okay, So now let us create a new project, a Django project. So this we can do by typing Django -admin start project and the name of your project. I'm going to name it test site. Okay, so I've created it. So now let us open the settings.py file of this test site and change a few settings there so that we can further proceed with our Django application development. So now let us let us use gedit. Gedit is the default um, text editor that comes built in with Ubuntu. You can also use Nano or Vim editor, which is present in almost every Linux distro. In case you don't have gedit test site /test site /settings.py. Okay, so now here is the settings.py file. Okay, so now let us scroll down to the bottom, and here we see the time zone UTC. Let's just change this to your own time zone. I'm in India, so I'm going to change it to Asia, Kolkata, and I'm going to save this and I'm going to close it. So now I've successfully saved the settings.py file. So now let us create a new form by using the following command in the test site directory. So let's move to the test site directory. Okay, so now let us create a new form. So it's python 3 manage.py start app form. So this is going to be a form app, right? So now we've done that, and now to make Django recognize this app, you need to change another setting in the settings.py file. So let's again go back to the settings.py file /settings.py. Okay, now scroll up to the top where you see installed underscore apps, and here we need to add another line. So this line is gonna be form. Okay, close it, give a comma after that, and then save it. Right, now you can close this settings.py file, and now let us run this command to save these changes. So it's python 3 manage.py migrate. Okay, so when you see this running migrations, it means that there were a few changes done, and you're gonna save these changes to the Django apps. Okay, so now let us navigate to the Django apps, uh, the project and the form directory. So let's go to cd form. Okay, so now we're in the form directory. Here in the models.py file, we need to create database or tables. Okay, so now let us open the models form, models.py. Okay, so in the models.py file, I've typed in the following code. So here the admin table is the name of the table that we're going to create, and username and password are two of its fields. So now let's just save this file and close it. Okay, and here now we go to the test site directory and we run this so that the changes are saved again. So let's go back to the test site and let's run the command python 3 manage.py make migrations form. Okay, so when we do this, it says create model admin table. So admin table has been created successfully, and by running make migrations, you're telling Django that you've made some changes to your models. So that is in case if you've made new ones, and that you like the changes to be stored as a migration. So migrations are how Django stores changes to your models. Okay, so they're just files on your disk. So so next let us run python 3 manage.py migrate. Okay, to just confirm. Okay, so now the form dot 0001 underscore initial, which was the form for the admin tables, it has been successfully migrated. So now our Django form has been partially ready. So now let's go to the admin.py in the form directory again. Okay, so let's go to gedit form slash admin.py. So here in this admin.py again we need to make a few changes so that we can use this we can use the Django. Okay, so now we just have to add these two lines from .models import admin table and admin.site.register admin table. This is to make sure that the admin can access the admin table. So now let's just save this and close this too. Okay, so let me just clear the screen. Now again let us run this command. So to create a super user, so that is python 3 manage.py create super user. Okay, so now username I want to use it as Swaroop, so I'm going to leave it as blank. So just give your email address. So that is I've given my email address here and then type in the password. I'm typing in my password. Okay, and just reconfirm your password. Now it says super user created successfully, so that's the super user for your Django server. So now we can just directly run the Django server. So that is python 3 manage.py run server. So when we do this, it says the starting development at https 127.0.0.1 at port 8000. So this is your default localhost. So you can either type in that or you can just type in localhost colon 8000 slash admin. So this will give you the admin Django admin form. So now the username and password, remember that you've created a super user. So now let's just type in that password, username and password. Okay, so now I've created I've got authentication to my Django administrations. Now you can see that there's a form admin tables over here. So now let's just click on this admin tables and here add admin table. So now let's in the admin table we know that there are two fields, username and password. So now let's just create two of them. So I'm gonna create one thing, say QWERTY, and another password named pineapple. Okay, so I'm gonna save this. I'm just gonna save this here. Okay, so in my admin table I have one entry named QWERTY. Alright, so now let me just go back to my terminal, and here we need to create a form. Okay, so let me just quit this by pressing Ctrl C and clear the terminal. So now we need to create a form. Let's go to form/forms.py. So that is basically gedit forms.py. Okay, now let's create a form here. Okay, so in the form.py file, we need to type in this following code, and I'm gonna provide you with the link of this following file, and then just save this and then quit. Okay, so now here the usernames and password are the labels in our form that were mentioned in the forms.py. So now in the form view in form directory in the views.py file we need to make a few more changes. So now let us go to the views.py file, gedit form views.py. So here we have to add a few more lines. Type in this following code in your views.py file. Now let's save this and close it again. So now we need to create a new file called index.html where we show the user interface for of the Django app. So now let us create that in this following directory. So gedit form. So in form templates slash form slash index dot html. Index.html is the name of our HTML file. So now here we need to create a basic HTML page. Okay, so now we've made these changes to the index.html file, and now let's just save it and quit. Okay, so after this, so let's go to the urls.py file, gedit test site urls.py. So here we're gonna add another line in the URL patterns. We're gonna add this line called path, and then form slash comma views dot login. Okay, so let's add this line, and here we need to add another import, so that is from form import views. Okay, so let's save this and quit this, and now let us run the command migrate to save the changes. Python 3 manage.py migrate. Okay, so now we've made changes to the urls .py file. So now let us run the server. Python 3 manage.py run server. Okay, so now the server is up and running. Let's open our browser, and let's type in localhost 8000 slash form. Okay, so here is the form that we've created, and now remember we've added a value into the table. So username QWERTY and password pineapple. So now let us just submit. So it says success. So the value is already present in our Django admin tables table. It says it'll say success, or else it'll be like user not found. So let's see the other case too. So I'm just giving a random password, and then it says user does not exist over here. Okay, so this is the working of the Django web server. Okay, next we shall see how to integrate Django with the Apache web server. Okay, so now let me just shut down the server, and let me clear the screen too. Okay, so now to install to run Django with the Apache web server, we need to install another package. So let us do the installation. Sudo apt get install libapache 2 slash mod hyphen wsgi hyphen py3. Okay, so we're using py3 to make sure that it is going to be compatible with our Python 3 pip3 installer. Okay, so now we've got the wsgi module. So after this, let's go to our project settings, gedit test site settings.py. Okay, so here I'm just gonna go down to the bottom, all the way bottom, and I'm gonna add another line here, saying static underscore root equal to os.path.join base underscore dir comma static slash. Okay, so this we're gonna add to tell the Apache to use all of its files, all the files that we'll be using, to save it under the static folder. Okay, so now let's just save this and close it. Okay, so now let us do the migration, so that our changes are saved. So Python 3 manage.py, make migrations. Okay, it says no changes detected. Let's just do migrate again, just in case. Okay, so it says there's no migrations to apply. So now let us do Python 3 manage.py create. No, we have already created the super user, so no need to do that again. Collect static. Okay, so it says 130 static files copied to uh, Django apps test site slash static. Alright, so now let us move on to configuring Apache. So let us open sudo gedit /etc /apache2 /sites available 000 default.com. So this is the file that we need to open, and here we have to make a few changes so that we can configure the apache.conf file. Okay, so make the following changes. I will provide a link of the default configuration file too in the description, and make the changes, save it, and I can close it. Okay, so after making these changes, let us change a few permissions so that we can use this Apache web server too. So let's change some permissions. Chmod chmod 664. Okay, so db SQLite 3, and then now let us change the ownership, the group ownership, to sudo chown www hyphen data. Okay, so db SQLite 3, and then let us change the uh, group ownership to Apache over the database parent directory too. So it's sudo chown www/data. Okay, and /Django apps /test set. Okay, so now once these steps are done, we're ready to restart Apache server to implement the changes that we have made. So now let us restart the Apache server. Sudo service apache2 restart. Okay, so now it's restarted. So now we can go to our web browser, and without mentioning the port, we should be able to access. Okay, so here as we see, it has loaded without giving any port number. Okay, so we have successfully connected our Apache 2. Okay, so here we've set up the Django project in its own virtual environment, and we've configured Apache with the mod WSGI to handle client requests and interface with the Django app. Okay, next we shall see how to configure MySQL server, and also how to connect this web server to the MySQL application. Okay, now let's proceed with the MySQL server setup. So first of all, type in sudo MySQL to fire up the MySQL server. Okay, and then type in your password. Now here you can see the MySQL server is up and running. So now just type in alter user, okay, root at localhost identified with MySQL underscore native underscore password by root. Okay, so let's just give this. So now the query is fine, it says. So now let's just exit MySQL. So now let us enter MySQL, sudo MySQL -u root -p root. Root is the password. I'm sorry. So it's -p. Now enter the password root. So now we're here, signed in as root. Create user Swaroop at localhost identified by password. I'm just gonna give this, and then it says query OK. Give this user Swaroop all the privileges. So that's grant all privileges on star dot star to Swaroop, the username, at localhost. Right, and then let's give let's execute this query. So now we've given all privileges to Swaroop. Alright, so now that we have granted all the privileges, so let's quit and log in into the SQL as the user. So that is sudo MySQL -u Swaroop -p. Okay, so put in the password. Okay, so now this is how you enter as a specific user who has all the privileges. So now let us see how to integrate Django with MySQL so that we can complete our total project. Okay, so let me just exit. Okay, now that we're done with the creation of our user, let's just log in with that user, and we can make our database. So type in MySQL -u, the username Swaroop -p. Okay, so now let's enter the password. Okay, so I've given an invalid password. Okay, so now I've got the password, and I'm inside the MySQL server. So now let's just create a database. Create a database, my project. Okay, char set character set UTF-8. Okay, so I'm encoding it with the UTF-8 encoding. I'm creating this thing, and so I've created a database. So now let us type flush privileges to make sure that everything's alright. Okay, so now the query is okay. Now let us exit. Okay, so now after creating the database, we need to change the database settings in the Django file. So let us move to the Django apps test site. Okay, so let us activate our virtual environment. So that is source env/bins/activate. I'm sorry, cd. Okay, now let us go here and activate it, and then now let's move to test site. Alright, so now let us go to the settings.py file. So gedit test site /settings.py. So now here we're in the settings.py. Let us look for databases. So now here we see databases. So these are the default databases configurations that they've given over here. So we need to change this. So here instead of SQLite 3 we are using MySQL. So let's just change it to MySQL, and name of our database is basically my project. So let's give the name as my project. Okay, my project. Right, so next let's go down and give user. Okay, so now let's mention the user, and the user is Swaroop. Let's give the password. The password here, what we've given was password and comma, and then here the host name. So our host name here is localhost, and port we specify that as 8000. Alright, so now let's just save these changes and quit settings.py. Okay, so now we need to migrate the database. So let's type in python 3 manage.py make migrations. Okay, so we haven't installed the MySQL client here, so for that, that's why we're getting that error. So before we further proceed, let's open up another terminal, and here let us install the MySQL client. Sudo apt-get install lib MySQL client -dev. Okay, so now we finished the installation of the MySQL client. Let us do the Python migration. Okay, so it says no changes detected, and now let's do the Python 3 manage.py migrate. Okay, so all our migrations are done. Now let us do Python 3 manage.py run server. Okay, so now let's go to our browser, and here let us go to host 8000 / admin. Okay, so now we've got the admin form. So I'm gonna type in my username and password. So here I've got admin tables here. So we've got users, the username, password, it's a username and the email address. So we have successfully done linking the MySQL and the Django application too. So now that we've finished the setup, let's see if the data is actually being stored in our MySQL database or not. So for that, first let us log into the MySQL database using our user. Okay, so just enter the password. Okay, I'm into the MySQL database. So now we have to first select database. So the database that we created earlier was my project. So use my project. Okay, so now let's just type show tables. So these are all the tables in our project, in the my project database. So we can view the content of any project since we are the since we have all the privileges as the user. So let's just say select star from auth underscore user. Okay, so here we can see that the password is stored in an encrypted format, and here we have details of the last login, date joined, and if it is active or not, the username's email ID, username, and if it is super user or not, and we have details about super users. So similarly we can see data in all the other tables too. So now let us quit this and proceed to the installation of the Nginx load balancer. Now I shall show you how to create or install the Nginx load balancer. Okay, so for that, first of all, open up a new terminal and then type in the following commands: sudo apt get install Nginx. Okay, and then give your password. Then so now we have installed the Nginx load balancer. So now let us edit a few default configuration files so that we can make it useful for us and use it as a load balancer. Sudo gedit /etc /nginx /sites available /default. Okay, so here we get a lot of options. So now we can actually delete out the whole thing. Okay, so Control A and delete. Okay, and we need to replace it with this following code. So just type in upstream backend and server 192.168.5.146. Okay, so delete it and insert the following code into the default file. Now let's just save it and exit the text editor. So now to verify the status of the Nginx service, we can use the following command. Okay, so sudo systemctl status Nginx. Okay, so it says it's active and running. Okay, so with the setup of the Nginx load balancer, we've completed our tutorial. So thank you.